Ever feel like you're just going through the motions, kind of sleepwalking through your own life? Well, in his incredible book, Awareness, Anthony De Mello says that's exactly what most of us are doing. So let's take a look into this amazing guide for, well, waking up and finally seeing reality as it is. Right out of the gate, DeMello hits us with this powerful, super simple statement. He says, spirituality means waking up. So forget everything you think you know. Forget piety, forget rituals, forget religion as you know it. For him, spirituality is one thing and one thing only: waking up. It's a direct challenge to pretty much the way most of us live our lives. And that's the big question, isn't it? If spirituality is all about waking up, that implies that right now we're asleep. So what exactly is this sleep? What's the nature of this dream, or as DeMello would probably call it, this nightmare, that we're all apparently living in? According to DeMello, almost everyone on the planet is asleep. We're just sleepwalking through life, completely unaware of the reality and the beauty of it all. We're caught up in this kind of nightmare that we created ourselves, full of anxiety and fear and conflict. But we've been in it for so long that we just think, yep, this is reality. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. DeMello is arguing that from the day we're born to the day we die, we are basically unconscious. We get married in our sleep, we have kids in our sleep, we build entire careers, all while we're asleep. And the real tragedy is that we miss the whole point, what he calls the loveliness and the beauty of this thing that we call human existence. And he has this perfect little story to explain what's going on. Imagine an eagle's egg that somehow rolls into a chicken's nest. The little eaglet hatches and it grows up with all the chickens thinking it's a chicken. It scratches around in the dirt for worms, it clucks and cackles, and it flaps its massive wings just to fly a few feet off the ground. Then one day it looks up and sees this magnificent bird soaring high above in the sky. It asks another chicken, "Whoa, what is that?" And the chicken says, "Oh, that's the eagle. He's the king of all birds. But don't worry about him. We're chickens. We belong down here on the earth." And so the eagle lived its whole life and died as a chicken, because that's all it ever thought it was. DeMello says, that's us. We are all eagles living like chicken. All right, so this brings us to what might be one of the most mind-bending ideas in the whole book: our relationship with happiness. We're all convinced it's the one thing we want more than anything else. But DeMello argues that actually, we're the biggest obstacle to our own happiness. See, we put all these conditions on our own joy. We say stuff like, I'll be happy when I finally get that promotion, or I'll feel good about myself if my boss finally tells me I did a good job, or I can only be happy if this specific person loves me back. We're essentially holding our own happiness hostage. We're looking at a person or a job or some achievement and saying, you are my happiness, and if I don't have you, I flat out refuse to be happy. This attachment, this dependency, that DeMello says is the real root of all our suffering. And get this idea even applies to when we do good things. DeMello kind of calls out the whole idea of pure altruism. He calls it enlightened self-interest. Think about it. When we help someone else, we get a nice little feeling, right? We get the pleasure of pleasing them, which in turn makes us feel good about ourselves. It's a much more sophisticated, more refined form of selfishness, but it's still about getting something for me. Now, he's not saying this to make you feel bad. It's just about being brutally honest about why we do what we do. Okay, so if we're all asleep and we're putting all these weird conditions on our happiness, and even our good deeds are a bit selfish, how on earth did we get this way? Well, the answer lies in this invisible prison that we all live in, our psychological conditioning. From the moment we are born, we just start absorbing ideas and beliefs that aren't actually ours. We swallow them whole without ever questioning them. And DeMello says the proof is this. When someone attacks one of those beliefs, how do you react? You get emotional, you get defensive, you're ready to fight tooth and nail for it, even though you never really chose it in the first place. And where does all this programming come from? Well, I mean, it's literally everywhere. It comes from our parents telling us what's right and wrong. It comes from our culture defining what success and failure look like. It comes from our religion, our political parties, our social groups. All of these things are stamping their beliefs onto us before we're even old enough to think for ourselves. And the result of all this? It's huge. We walk around with this illusion that we're free, but in reality, we're kind of like puppets. Our thoughts, our feelings, our reactions, they're mostly just mechanical responses dictated by our programming. Someone praises your work, you feel that little jolt of pride. Someone criticizes it, you feel crushed. We're not really living, we're just reacting. Okay, so that's the diagnosis, and it sounds kind of bleak, right? We're asleep, we're conditioned, we're not really free, but this is where everything starts to shift. This is where DeMello pivots from the problem to a solution that is both profound and surprisingly simple, discovering who you really are. DeMello argues that we spend our whole lives studying everything else out there, science, history, how to make money, but we almost never study ourselves. We never stop to ask the most basic, fundamental question there is. Who or what is this I that is living my life? Okay, and this is maybe the most important distinction in the entire book. He says there are two parts of you. There's the me, that's your story. It's the collection of all your labels, your thoughts, your feelings. The me is your job title, your nationality, your anxieties, your body, your name. The me is always changing and it's always feeling threatened. But then there's the I. The I is the pure observer. It's the part of you that is aware of your thoughts, the part that watches your feelings come and go. This I is timeless, it's unchanging, and it can never, ever be truly threatened. And here's the absolute game changer. All of our suffering, every last bit of it, begins the moment that timeless I mistakenly identifies with the vulnerable, changing me. So when you think to yourself, I am depressed, you've just fused that pure observer with a temporary feeling. When you think, I am a failure because something didn't work out, you've identified your entire being with a single temporary outcome. DeMello is saying, you are not your depression, you are not your failure, you are the I that is simply aware of those things. So, how do we actually do this? How do we apply this incredible idea and start to break that identification? How do we finally wake up? Well, DeMello offers one single, really powerful tool. The practice is simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. It's called self-observation. All it means is watching your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions without getting tangled up in them. And that phrase, as if it were happening to someone else, that's the key. It creates this little bit of space, this detachment that lets you see things clearly without taking every single experience so personally. This is such a wild idea because it goes against every instinct we have. When you feel anxious, what's the first thing you want to do? Get rid of it. Fix it. DeMello says stop. Don't fix it. Don't even judge it as bad. Just watch it. He's convinced that the pure light of awareness, of just understanding what's happening inside you, is what allows all these negative feelings to just dissolve all on their own. No effort required. The fancy word for this is disidentification, and DeMello gives us this absolutely beautiful metaphor to get it. He says, you are the vast open sky. Your thoughts, your feelings, your anxiety, your joy, your anger, they're just clouds passing through. A big storm cloud doesn't damage the sky, and the sky doesn't try to hold on to a beautiful sunset. It just lets it all happen. That's the goal, to be the sky, not the weather. So practically, how do you do this? It's actually a pretty simple 3-step thing you can try. First, just acknowledge what's there. Name it. Okay, there's some anxiety. Second, create a little space. Just mentally step back and remind yourself, I am not this anxiety, I am the one who is watching this anxiety. And third, you just observe. Get curious. What does it feel like in your body? What thoughts is it creating? But you do it all without trying to change a single thing. And here's the cool part. This practice doesn't just stay inside your head. Once you start getting a taste of this inner freedom, it completely revolutionizes your life, especially your relationships. DeMello would argue that what most of us call love is actually something else. So on the left, you've got what he calls addictive love. This is the stuff of pop songs, right? It's based on need. It's a demand that another person has to make you happy. So it's full of fear. Fear of them leaving, fear of being rejected. It's all about clinging and possessiveness. But on the right, you have real love. This kind of love comes from your own sense of fullness. You don't need someone else to make you happy because your happiness isn't up for grabs. You just enjoy their company, with no clinging, no dependency. It's a love that is completely based on freedom. This analogy just says it all, doesn't it? Real love, this unconditional state of being, it's like the smell of a rose or the light from a lamp. It doesn't pick and choose who gets it. It doesn't give itself out as a reward or hold itself back as a punishment. It just is. It shines on everyone and everything, no conditions attached. So as we start to put all these pieces together, you can see the outline of a totally new way of living. And this isn't just some neat psychological trick. This is what DeMello means when he talks about waking up to a new reality, one that plays by a completely different set of rules. I love this archer metaphor because it applies to literally everything we do. When we aren't attached to the outcome, to winning the prize, to getting the applause, we are completely free. All of our energy, all of our skill is right here in this moment. It's that need to win, that attachment to being seen as a success that creates all the tension and just drains us of our own power. This is the ultimate freedom he's talking about. Just imagine, for a second, a state where your inner peace is completely untouchable by anything that happens outside of you. Someone praises you? Cool. Someone criticizes you? That's fine too. You succeed? Great. You fail? Also fine. Because you, the real I, you're not identified with any of it. You're just perfectly content to be without needing any label, even a good one. And this just flips our whole search for happiness on its head. We spend our lives trying to add things, thinking they'll make us happy. DeMello says that's backwards. Happiness is our natural state. It's not something you find, it's what you uncover. It's what's left over when you finally drop all the heavy baggage and illusions you didn't even know you were carrying. So we'll end with this provocative thought. DeMello insists that you have everything you need for total bliss, right here, right now. The only reason you're not experiencing it is because you're focusing on something else, something you think you lack. So the final question is for you. You have it all. What illusion is stealing your attention? A look into awareness gives you the insight, but the full book gives you the breakthrough. If you're ready to master your own mind, the link is in the description. Share this with someone who is also building their best self. Then like and subscribe to keep gaining clarity. Choose to grow.